the more you walk through the streets of old Dubai and the more questions you ask, the more you discover. Like, one of the things I found out, which I never realized growing up here, is that when you visit the spice souk and you walk up to the spice souk, a lot of the area just in front of the spice souk where that entire parking lot is, was all water. We all know that the creek actually had gone through a whole dredging program under Sheikh Rashid in the late 1950s, early 60s. But I had no idea that they had taken all the soil out from under the creek and they had used it to reclaim land. So a lot of what we see in the front of the souk was all reclaimed land. And it's such a powerful moment when you're standing there with people, when we're starting off the tours, and we say, do you know, if you had met us here in the 50s, our feet would have been wet because we would have been standing in water. You would have jumped on the rocks to get on the abra because the abras would come up to here. And it's that, flashback which makes people realize that development didn't just happen in the last 15 years. Like, these little bricks of that foundation have been laid sort of all through the decades.
Grab something, sit down.
Assalamualaikum. Hum aa gaye phir se.
I haven't seen that.
The chai is actually going.
Chai? When people ask ladies, what is the one thing you must have in your bag?
Exactly.
Tacos. Like hot sauce. Ours is hot sauce. Arva and I were children of the 80s and we're children of old Dubai. This is the side of the city that we've known the longest. It's also the side of the city that is rarely celebrated. So the idea of Frying Pan Adventures, what we do is we get to showcase a side of the city that is not familiar to a lot of people around the world or even people who've just recently moved here. And doing it through the lens of food, for us personally, is one of the most meaningful and genuine ways to understand that part of the city that the spotlight has never really been shone on.
Samosa pao ek.
कैसे आप?
Samosa pao.
मुल्ला
मिर्ची बड़ा में मिर्ची है कि ऐसे?
Nahi, it's not.
नहीं तो फिर नहीं चाहिए.
Capsicum type.
Oh, no.
समोसा पाओ.
We love that it's one of the walls that has remained through time with all of the corals still embedded. That was the old way of building.
దోశ మసాలా దోశ ఇడ్లీ సాంబార్ వడ సాంబార్ పానీ పూరి దహి పూరి బేల్ పూరి సేవ్ పూరి మసాలా పూరి మర్రవాదా కీర్ శ్రీమర్రజ్ అహ్మద్ గల్పాన్ అల్ ఢిల్లీ రెస్టారెంట్ బర్ దుబాయ్.
I came from a very traditional corporate background. Everything I had done was, to go in a certain path. But one of the things that I didn't see coming was that I had this outrageous appetite for food. And I feel true lovers of food, everyone says they're foodies, but a true lover of food is not necessarily one who enjoys eating. It's a person who enjoys feeding, connecting with people, using food as a way of understanding and making sense of the world. And for me, that's what food has become.
What I essentially have been doing in these past nearly 12 years of doing these tours is I've turned into my mom. And to me, nothing could make me prouder than that. Especially when you're the child of immigrants, the biggest challenge for my parents was helping us to stay rooted in our culture back home. And how do you do that? Well, Mom, the first things that immigrants do when they move to a new place, they begin to unpack flavors from their homeland, from their memories, correct? And this is what she was doing. And she was also doing it through the food. So she didn't do it consciously. Every dish that was served, she would connect it with my dad and her childhood, when they would eat something. And when I realized that this is all I had to do, share stories of my childhood, of my time growing up in a side of Dubai where we didn't take things like bottled water for granted. And when I realized that I could find a powerful way of sharing these narratives that is when I realized that this is probably out of all the jobs I've done, this is the one where it has all come together to make complete sense.
In the 90s was where you would hear all of the most impossible things. So we also, at one end, we were seeing our dad, his very humble story, but how he was slowly growing his business step by step, and the city was kind of growing along with it. And when you bring the two of those together, where there's humility in knowing that, I am who I am, but also that my dreams don't have to have limits, that's a very, very incredible combination, because it's what makes Dubai Dubai. It's the city where anything can happen, not because we have ego, but because we are willing to put in the work and the people around us are willing to support us. There's a warmth. I knew this was where I wanted to be. And that really, I think, has shaped a lot of what we see today. Because when you're humble, it gives you that perspective where you want to connect with other cultures. You are open-minded. Dubai is very open-minded about diversity, about tolerance, about learning from other cultures. We've got that from the city, we've got it from our dad and our mom. And so it all really comes together in the kind of work that we do with our fruit tours every day.